What is going on, Neon Nation? Welcome back to the Neon Arcade for another installment into the Ultimate Analysis series, this time on the Tour of Night City trailer from Night City Wire Episode 3. Ultimate Analysis videos tend to have more in-depth detail than regular ones, so today should be a really fun one with all the connections and details that you might have missed when watching. With that being said, let's jump right into it. The Postcards from Night City trailer opens up with a talk show in Night City called Attuned In. The host is sporting some incredibly flashy attire, including what appears to be the glowing earrings we first saw in a prior trailer analysis. Although she does look relatively human, the etchings on her skin also indicate she may also have some other modifications under the hood. I'd imagine some of these media personalities would like to retain a more human look to be more presentable on TV. Moving into the next frames, we have a repeat scene from the 48-minute 2018 demo, where V opens the blinds to her apartment to a scenic view of this section of Night City. Check out the design changes here between not only the blinds, which are significantly more dirty and weathered, but also the city, which looks significantly more dirty and weathered. As much as I miss some of the more standout ads, I think a coastal city should have this more worn out, decrepit and rusted look versus what was shown in 2018, which just seemed a tad bit too clean. I also mentioned this before, but we see the Kandachi weapons store as a great point of interest to get a feel for where on the map we actually are. We also have a scene later on in the trailer near Kabuki, which also gives you a feel for where V's apartment is. Moving into the next shot, we have a scene that we've compared with the RTX trailer. We saw this location just outside V's apartment for the first time in the 48-minute demo, and again at night during the RTX trailer, and now again during the day in the most recent build. Again, grittier, more detail, and the people seem less put together and fashionable. Watson isn't a particularly rich district, so lore-wise, having people with unkept clothing like this man makes a lot more sense, especially for a cyberpunk dystopia. We also have our first look at ads for Night City's mayoral race in the back with Weldon Holt as a candidate. If you guys remember back in 2019, we spotted Perales in his campaign promise being mentioned in the background, and yes, we finally now know that he is the other candidate running against Holt in the election. It does seem like Holt is backed by Lucius Rhine based on advertising, the man who saved Night City in the Unification Wars by summoning Arasaka with his extensive list of contacts. We will see Holt later on, but for now we'll leave it at that. The trailer moves into some more shots of the city, with one of my absolute favorites being this one. We see an AV jetting along in between the apartment blocks, and it's this choking density of buildings along with its realistic but still engaging to look at design that's going to keep exploration of Night City fresh. Sprinkle on top the distinct visual styles which extend to the architecture, and you really have a city that has many comparable elements to Ghost in the Shell. We have a massive fan, for what purpose I have no idea, and it could really be anything from a turbine to a massive AC system. At 22 seconds in, we get a nice little vantage point of Night City, which features a smaller Arasaka structure, as well as a classic yellow and black mega buildings, which if you haven't noticed is actually the box for the CE of the game. It does seem like there is a fair amount of traffic, at least on this highway artery, that likely leads to the beating heart of the city center. At 23 seconds, we have yet another media character who looks like she could be a Mox member sporting the same nasal implants as our buddy Jackie Wells. For those of you worried that see-through plastic clothing had been removed based on some image changes, it seems like you're safe, and Sally Silverhand over here has not one, but two silver arm augmentations. As the cameraman pans out, we see two chairs, again insinuating that this is a talk show. Developers have also mentioned that we can watch TV in-game, so we might also be able to catch entire episodes of these. Looking into the background, we have augmentations and weapon holograms. The first weapon on the top left is the same SMG or machine pistol that we've seen in the weapons and RTX trailers. Right under it, we have the Midnight Arms rifle, later seen in the hands of a Max TAC officer. This is an anti-Borg weapon. On the right hand side, we have the Mantis blades, as well as what appears to be some sort of brace, potentially the reinforced joints off screen in the weapons trailer. The sun streams through some buildings in the next shot with the Trauma Team Med Center off to the right. This looks on par with the one seen in the latest Trauma Team comic book set in the same timeline. There is a mega building with an 11 on it, and later on we do see the 8 building during the day and the night, which can also be seen in this RTX trailer shot. This is really just to give you an idea on how many mega buildings there could be, as well as a feel for the size between these landmarks. Now I've also noticed this a couple times, but the sun seems to be incredibly blinding when rising or setting, which might be indicative of a change to the climate in the 57 years since the source material. To me, this just gives me the sense that global warming may have accelerated. Some shots of Night City really remind you of Dubai in that sense, and the surrounding badlands also give the impression that things are getting out of hand environmentally. Moving on, we have a traffic circle in Kabuki. There is a new noteworthy ad on the top left that is one of my new favorites for a synthetic meat alternative called Easy Beef from All Foods. We've also seen a fast travel tourist terminal here from screenshots of this location in the past. 30 seconds into the Postcards from Night City trailer, we have this scene. Compared to the exact same location from 2018, and there is a massive upgrade in terms of depth, fidelity, buildings, and lighting. I've seen a couple of comments joking around about CDPR remastering their own game pre-release, and this really is a scene that encapsulates that sentiment. Next up, we have a scene at a market where V is being served shish kebabs as Silverhand looks on from the distance. You're sitting next to Takamura, who can be seen in the gang trailer. We don't know much about Takamura other than he's likely friendly to the player and somehow tied to Arasaka. Sushi here is 14 Euro bucks, and you will be able to eat in game, so visiting these vendors might give you a nice little temporary stat boost. Moving on, we have a shot of what appears to be City Hall, which is in the Haywood district. Night City, aka the City of Dreams logo, is featured on this building. 33 seconds in, we have the mayoral candidate Holt shaking hands and kissing babies in what appears to be some campaign-related activities at City Hall. The man whose hand Holt is shaking can also be seen in this screenshot, so maybe this is an important character in the electoral narrative as well. The supporting cast in the back is quite an odd group of people that lacks cohesion even on a surface level. They kinda just seem like puppets to me, although not to the degree that we will see later on. We go on to see yet another media personality on the airwaves, this time 2077's equivalent of Jim Cramer. This is most definitely a business and stocks oriented show, and we even see a stock ticker at the top of his office. We see companies like Zetatech, Nakoda, Tsunami, Malorian, Kuroshi, Archer, and newcomers Armadillo and Urox at the top, as well as Arasaka stocks on the far right panel. If you take a look into the back windows of his office, we have a large geisha advertisement as well as a yellow illuminated Arasaka logo, and this may help us dial in the location of this set if we look at the intro of the 2019 CGI trailer. Moving into this shot in some random back alley, we have a no entry zone being blocked off with this holographic signage. I can really see this being used to gate areas for narrative reasons until you've hit a certain moment in the story. We see the ever mysterious Night Corp logo as well as a sign about chipware that we see more fully at 44 seconds in. This strikes me as a potential Ghost in the Shell Easter egg with the augmented fingers typing. We're shown another expansive highway with the monorail curving through the city, which we can see later on in this shot as a MaxTac AV flies through the area. We will see that aerial vehicle later. Again, I really enjoy shots like this and seeing how the buildings are thoughtfully meshed together while still being able to catch the eye with their varied structures and colors. 42 seconds in, and a holographic TV panel showcases what is likely an N54 news feed transmitting some of the news within the world. There are body bags strewn on the ground and what appears to be an emergency AV over a crash or fire. The feed also shows soldiers in all black gear which could be connected with Arasaka somehow. Braindance is shown in this scene with an All Foods burrito ad in the back as we move into the familiar territory inside the mega buildings. We have seen these scenes before in 2018 in the form of screenshots, trailers, and walkthroughs. This scene looks very similar to this area from this screenshot where we're being held up by scavengers, whereas inside the mega building we have similar scenes occurring in the E3 2018 trailer with these NPCs kicking back enjoying some smokes and drinks. There are also some parallels between these two scenes as we survey the lay of the land inside the mega buildings. At 47 seconds in, we share a doobie with our friendly neighborhood Ripper Doc, who looks like he has Valentino's affiliation. We have some augmented silver arms and some yellow cargo pants, and comparing this scene to our first Ripper Doc encounter, we're obviously significantly more augmented. I'm not sure if the game is going to warn you of this or not, so I will. You probably don't want to get your Ripper Doc zooted pre-installation of cyberware, especially when it comes to components like the Mr. Stud. Back into the city we go, and we have yet another one of my favorite shots, this time of Corpo Plaza, featuring the roundabout down below, which we've seen more clearly in some screenshots. I believe this is also where the 4th Corporate War Memorial Park lies, which would make sense since around the circle there does seem to be some park-like areas. We have Fuel Giant Petrochem with the building here, a readapted logo for the Cyber Hub, as well as a new sign I have not seen before called the 4th Wall. In the next shot we have what appears to be the park around the traffic circle in the city center. Here we get our first look at children NPCs, and the man on the right seems to have some gold gorilla arms. Moving right along, we have more buildings, again each unique in their design. This Dynalar Cybernetics advertisement is one of my favorites and kinda reminds me of those shitty cologne and perfume ads that make zero sense and just try to appeal to the rich and bougie. More sexualized advertising can be spotted on the right, and we also have a sign with the simple word fragile, which might be the name of a shop or a bar of some sort. More media is shown here in this unsettling scene with TV personality Ziggy Q. Just check out the robotic mannequin audience in the back. You may have seen this next group if you've been following the channel or have the World of Cyberpunk 2077 lorebook, as it seems like the band The Uscracks is a guest on Ziggy's Night Show. This is a band that heavily promotes Karoshi eye augmentations. If you guys remember from the gig trailer analysis, we also saw some of these sit-down talk shows, so they have been present but pretty well hidden for the last couple months. We also have an all-chrome celebrity on Ziggy's show, but it's unclear if this is actually Lizzie Wizzy or not, just based on how frequently it seems like Lizzie Wizzy likes to change her style. Heading back to the Lizzie's bar, we have a DJ plugged into a Braindance headset. Now, according to the 2077 lore book, some clubs use Braindance records to broadcast emotions to clubbers during live DJ shows. Users' moods will rapidly and artificially alter to synchronize with the music's tempo or to match the tone of a song. This could be what's happening in this circumstance. In the next scene, where we can see Jackie getting down on the dance floor, we can also spot a couple familiar faces. On the far right at the back, we have this man from the Kabuki boxing sessions showcased in the first Night City Wire. We also have what appears to be the Arasaka corporate higher-up Jenkins, as well as a woman in the back left who we see later wearing a familiar beanie. This beanie has the same logo as the T aptly named V's favorite shirt, indicating that this might actually even be a customized V. It is a bit more of an out there theory, but I figured I'd mention it regardless. At 58 seconds in, we have a Karoshi ad for the Uscracks again in the top right, as well as a new strip joint known as Bohemia. At 1 minute in, we have what appears to be Johnny Silverhand taking 20 milligrams of an unknown substance at a strip club, washing it down later on with some liquor. Silverhand's right arm seems to be bloodied, and there is a woman in the background with blonde hair. It seems like poor Johnny Boy's shoelaces have gotten untied, and this nice young lady has come to his aid to fix that so he doesn't trip. There are also some drunken shenanigans during this scene at the strip club, with V double fisting some mixed drinks. Nice job CDPR for the sneaky Blade Runner glasses. Two more incredible vistas of Night City follow before we get into yet another talk show, with what appears to be the new USA's flag, judging by what's being said by host Ruth Zhang. Some hazmat suit agents are using a metal detector out in the Badlands, which appears to double as a landfill for Night City's garbage. This scene looks very similar to the one you wake up in after you're shot by Dexter Deshawn in the 2019 CGI trailer. Moving on, it seems like Pacifica has already gotten the open beta of Witcher Monster Slayer, as you can see people playing it in this scene. In all seriousness, I really like this shot because it shows the prevalence of technology in Night City. Cyberpunk is all about high-tech low-life, and what's more high-tech and low-life than the homeless having smartphones? They can't even afford a roof over their heads, but technology has become so cheap and readily available that they probably have the latest pocket-sized gadgets. In an equally humorous scene, we spot this sign with the text, "Aliens kidnapped my wife and kids, help me celebrate." The deep dive also saw a similar sign, so let me know which one you think is funnier. Maybe it's even written by the same dude at different moments in the story. Cutting to a newsfeed, we briefly see the text WNS, which in 2020 lore was the World News Service, a particularly large media corp in Night City in the world. During the briefing, we see an Arasaka cameraman recording a robbery orchestrated by the Tiger Claws. The man with the weapon is utilizing a chunky shotgun, which looks similar to this one from Constitutional Arms. They've also taken a hostage for collateral during this ordeal, as the screen cuts to a reporter for WNS, mentioning the difference in violence rates between Night City and the new USA. The trailer goes on to showcase some action between the Claws members and the NCPD. The ganger is firing a modded Genesis rifle similar in shape to this one from the weapons trailer. Now if you look really closely, this is a familiar location. This is right where you meet Jackie in the 48-minute demo, judging by this elevator, this set of stairs, and the green glass next to these food vendors. Again, CDPR is repeatedly showcasing the same locations in different angles so as to not spoil the city. Another one of my favorite shots is what appears to be our first look at the ACPAs, or Assisted Combat Personnel Armor from 2020 lore. These somewhat resemble Royce's exoskeleton from the 48-minute demo, but this one seems like a more all-encompassing mech suit, more on par with a true ACPA. Of course, it's an NCPD or police variant with an officer standing right beside it. I find it interesting how this NCPD officer looks very similar to the Militech officers from the Nomad Life Path trailer. With Militech being the biggest arms manufacturer in Night City, they more than likely provide NCPD with their gear. 1 minute and 30 seconds into the trailer, we have a male strummer with no jaw and oddly enough a sun visor. I guess he's cool with ripping off the bottom half of his face but not putting on some SPF 50. Talk about self-care. In the next frames, we have a very eccentric Mox Ripper dog, either fixing or torturing this woman with again no jaw. Personally, it does seem like some sort of maintenance or upgrade, albeit a painful one. Looking in the back of this shot, we have the digital ghost Silverhand, so maybe this is another customized V character getting some upgrades. People have been asking about female maelstromers, and up to this point we have seen a few. It seems like many of them have these types of markings on their face, based off of this screenshot as well as some of the B-roll that we've seen from Night City Wire episode 1. Militech and the Valentinos mix like oil and water in this scene, with a Militech soldier apprehending this Valentinos member with a fair amount of body bags around them. Check out the blinged out fanny pack as well. Back to Pacifica we go, driving a retro vehicle outside the Grand Imperial Mall during some heavy rainfall. The windshield is shattered and again we see the custom work of each car's interior. This most definitely gives you more incentive to remain in first person during driving. At 1:39 we have the updated look to the Max Tax squad, sporting all black equipment with blue accents. I am a fan of this design versus the grey suit from the 2013 trailer, but everything else has pretty much stood the test of time. There is a police AV in the background which looks similar to the ones seen in ads and later on in the trailer as well. Again, we see that same Midnight Arms rifle in the arms of an officer in the front, and there are also some sort of blue connecting strands on his arms that seem to be pulsating. A female officer in the back sports some sort of heavy pistol. Moving right along here, we have V pulling out a tooth in what looks like Jackie's apartment based on the rosaries and the creatine monohydrate supplement on the left. Compare this with a similar scene from the Nomad Life Path, and I personally think that this trailer looks much better. At 1:40 we have what looks like a meeting with Padre, the fixer from the Street Kid Life Path. He has some pretty beefy bodyguards, and the one protecting him in the Life Path trailer can be seen doing some push-ups behind him. We also meet up with the Valentino's weapons dealer, who hands us some grenades as well as the Genesis rifle. Pausing the video as this is happening, we can see the weapon wall behind him, with the Militech Achilles corporate rifle in the top left, an Arasaka smart rifle on the bottom left, the Constitutional Arms Defender in the middle, and a pump action shotgun at the top. On the right hand side we have the Slot-O-Matic disposable weapon first seen in the PlayStation magazine from last month. The Militech Saratoga is underneath, as well as a pistol that Dum Dum uses in the gang feature in the top right. Moving on, we're back with our Maelstrom friend who's decided to forego his visor in favor of a pumpkin spice latte. Something really tells me this dude is in the wrong gang. Behind we have a new sports bike as well as some other Maelstromers harassing a couple civilians. The trailer briefly cuts to a shot of Johnny Silverhand before picking up the action with the gang firing off some rounds into the concrete. If you slow this part down, we can see some electrified rounds, which do indicate a different damage type than purely physical. These goons end up getting in your face, and the male Maelstromer, see what I did there, is wielding a very interesting machete. Hopefully we can pick this bad boy up to carve up some street scum. As we are inevitably struck with the machete, we see our first look at the potential death screen. Fatal Error and Kuroshi Optics Offline are on screen, with the text flatlined. The TNC Medical Center on the top right may also be where we end up respawning. At 1:53 we have another highly detailed vista of Night City, this time from the district of Santo Domingo, likely somewhere in Rancho Coronado. Check out some of the graffiti on the left with the words the Candy Vandals, which might be a smaller faction native to that area. Moving into the final part of the trailer, we have an Arasaka compound in what appears to be North Oak. North Oak is where the Arasaka mansion is located, and there are bodyguards in all white with rifles patrolling the area, as well as this guy standing out front. He looks very similar to the Arasaka agent in the 2077 CE statue, judging by his man bun and augmentations. Moving on, we have the former mayor of Night City, Mbule Ebeneke. Notice how this part of the trailer corresponds with this press conference from a Game Informer Cyberpunk magazine cover detailing a mass shooting in Night City. The audio on this trailer does mention Richard Knight, which was a bit confusing for me when I first saw it, but this has since been clarified. At 2 minutes and 15 seconds in, we see a brand new ad for the Lizzie's Bar. It seems to be a 5-some erotic braindance experience, which I have to say has a great name. I know a ton of you are going to check that one out, so have at it. Rounding off the trailer, we have some epic shots of Japantown and their holographic koi. We see another Arasaka compound in the middle of Japantown, with a phoenix and an unidentifiable woman appearing on the balcony. There is also a Network News 54 Aerodyne floating above a market, which brings me back to the Aerial N54 feed from the first 2013 trailer. Postcards from Night City ends with its most impressive view of Night City, as the camera pans from Corpo Plaza outwards to the edges of the city. That is it for this analysis. If you enjoyed it, please show it some love by liking or sharing with your buddies, and for anything and everything Cyberpunk, join Neon Nation by subscribing to the Neon Arcade.